Hey everybody, welcome back. Craig Schaup here with Bob Garver, our film critic from New York City. Bob is
Right.
here. We are talking movies. It is October. We are knee deep in the early Oscar season. Bob, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully.
Well, we'll
Um,
kick it off. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say we're going to cover a movie today that, might get some special effects nominations, a failed failed Oscar bait movie, and then a movie that I think has a good chance in the Best Picture race.
Absolutely. Well, we'll kick off with that maybe quasi blockbuster with Tron Ares. Not a lot of money at the box office, probably at least not for what Disney was hoping for. But here we have the Hodgepodge sequel. This is a series that started way back in 1982, which even predates me. So obviously, I am a big fan of Tron, and I also had a lot of admiration for Tron Legacy as well, that came out in 2010. So here we are 15 years later, and we have another Tron movie. Bob, tell us about the movie and what did you think?
Well, the movie is about two warring tech companies. Encom, the one famously run by Jeff Bridges, or featuring Jeff Bridges in the original movie, and the one that Garrett Hedlund's character
Mhm.
kind of inherited in the second movie.
Yeah.
Um, it's now run by this woman played by Greta Lee, and she's up against Dillinger Systems, who apparently there was a guy named Ed Dillinger who was a bad guy in the original movie, and his grandson Julian Dillinger, played by Evan Peters, is now running that company, and the two companies are warring with each other. And Julian creates an AI super soldier named Ares, played by Jared Leto, and he assigns Ares to assassinate Greta Lee's character. Excuse me, please. Could you pause it for a moment? Okay, thank you. And is it unpaused?
We're good.
We're good. Okay. It's yeah, and Jared Leto is assigned to assassinate Greta Lee's character, but he researches her for the assignment, and he decides that he likes her and humanity, and he doesn't want to be subservient to Julian Dillinger anymore, and that leads to Julian using another super soldier, played by Jodie Turner Smith, to try to attack Ares, and they have a big battle.
Well, as you would expect, are you a Tron fan in general? Have you watched the first two movies?
Not in general. I haven't seen the first one. I did see Legacy, but I really felt out of the loop with it.
Is this another one of those? Obviously, we're 15 years later, so and it is considered a sequel, and they're bringing back mostly everybody from the first couple of movies, with the exception of maybe one person. But ultimately, what is this movie for
Are they?
you? Is it worth a watch? Is it not?
I mean, there's only one cast member that I know of that's in the first movie that's in this one.
Well, yeah, that's it, but it is kind of a continuation of this franchise, but they've kind of brought back, they brought back Jeff Bridges, of course, which is a good thing,
Yes.
but then also they seem to have not brought back other people that maybe could have been brought back from Tron Legacy. Does it feel weird that maybe it's kind of like a direct sequel, but it seems like it's on its own now, I guess, or maybe it's just kind of telling a different story and not bringing back certain characters?
I, I I didn't really consider any of the characters from Tron Legacy outside of Jeff Bridges to be all that memorable.
Right, but Garrett Hedlund though was the son of Jeff Bridges' character, so you would think maybe he'd have some sort of continuation in this plot thread, but I guess not.
I was fine without him.
Okay. Overall, though, what's your thoughts on the movie?
Um, I didn't really go for the movie. I thought the characters were all kind of archetypes.
Mm,
You've got the AI who wants to be human. You've got the good guy tech genius. You got the bad guy tech bro.
yeah.
Um, all the characters are just kind of there. But there is, as always, a really good visual and musical style. The soundtrack from Nine Inch Nails, and when everybody knows you call them when you want to let the audience know that technology is happening.
Right. Yes, that is true. What's your final grade for the movie?
C.
All right.
I could see. I could, in all seriousness, see this getting into some special effects categories at the Oscars,
Yeah.
but the acting, script, and movie will not.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have another Oscar hopeful here. We have Dwayne Johnson starring in The Smashing Machine. Tell us about this one.
In The Smashing Machine, he plays a naturally gifted athlete called Mark Kerr. A day in the or a star of the early days of the UFC and pride fighting, and he's so naturally gifted that he wins all of his matches right off the bat. And the movie is actually his journey to his first professional loss,
Mm.
because he has so little humility that he needs to learn how to lose, but it's not happening for a while.
Right.
And he fights with his girlfriend a lot, played by Emily Blunt. And there are a lot of really good emotional scenes in the movie. And Dwayne Johnson, he is in rare form here, playing this super emotional guy
Yeah.
who is very different from a lot of the blockbuster bohunks that he usually plays.
Right.
But it's also not a movie or a performance that add up to very much, and this isn't going to be in the Oscar race. I'm sorry.
Well, it's kind of a disappointment. Benny Safdie usually works with his brother. Here he's working on his own. Obviously, the Safdie brothers known for Good Time, Uncut Gems, other movies like that. So, there was a lot of hope. And, of course, there was a lot of buzz coming out of the award circuit for Dwayne Johnson's performance, given the fact that this is sort of a departure for him. And it sounds like he's at least good in this movie and showing some of that range. But maybe, like you said, just doesn't always add up here.
Yeah, I guess if I was comparing his performance to something, it would be like Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl,
Mhm.
where yes, they've never really been on this level before,
Right.
and there's maybe some awards talk, but it's not realistically going to happen.
Right. Well, it's a good departure for him, and maybe that will spur some movement here with him in other movies. I know there's other projects in the fire right now for him, so maybe this will give an opportunity for Dwayne Johnson to kind of step away from some of those roles that most people see him in, and ultimately give him a chance to flex some of those acting chops.
Yeah, I hear he's got a Scorsese movie coming up.
Yeah, says he does. What's your final grade for The Smashing Machine?
C.
All right. Well, we go from one probably out of the Oscar race to one that's probably thrust into many, many categories. It's one battle after another. The newest movie from Paul Thomas Anderson, who has always been an awards darling since he really burst onto the scene with Boogie Nights back in the 1990s. And this is a guy that's I think he's 0 for 11 right now in Academy Award nominations. And I think
Yeah.
that's going to change this year, Bob. I saw the movie. I know you saw the movie. I want to get your thoughts first. But what did you think of this probable Oscar favorite at this point?
I thought it was delightful. Leonardo DiCaprio plays this former member of a revolutionary group that has to go into hiding along with his daughter, or along with let's say his daughter, and she winds up being abducted by a government agent who is played by Sean Penn. Real sleazy guy, real sleazy
Yes.
performance by Sean Penn.
Yeah.
And but he has his reasons for wanting to abduct the daughter, and of course Leo spends most of the movie trying to get her back, and she actually does quite a good job of evading Sean Penn herself.
Yep.
And it's just a really good chase movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably. But I'd say it's probably at the forefront of the Oscars race. I'd still probably go with Sinners at this point, but One Battle After Another is definitely up there. I wouldn't be surprised if it were to get Paul Thomas Anderson his first win. Um, but DiCaprio is funny.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's funny here, but especially DiCaprio and Tiana Taylor, who
Yeah.
plays his wife and the mother of well, her daughter. Um, what sort of things did you think about the movie?
I loved it. I'm a Paul Thomas Anderson fan. I don't know that I would quite put this above like There Will Be Blood, but this is really one of his most popular movies where I think fans could really sink their teeth into because, like you said, it's like a chase movie. It's got a lot of action elements. There's sort of that trademark well written script by Paul Thomas Anderson, and there are some genuinely laugh out loud moments, especially when DiCaprio is on the phone
Oh, that
trying
sequence
to.
where he's trying to come up with the decades old code.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so funny that you can make a sequence that starts at a payphone and ends at like a, off the grid kind of phone where DiCaprio is trying to find a rendezvous point to meet up with his daughter. And that scene where, it could have been played way too long and it would have like run out of steam, but e- anytime you thought it was going to maybe run out of steam, it kept getting more and more funny and more tension build, and it was just such a great scene. But there are the chase sequence at the very end of the film is among some of the best scenes of the year, and really some of the best action sequences I've seen in a while too. It is a really inspired movie from Paul Thomas Anderson that I didn't quite expect. I didn't expect him to go with the trailers didn't really do this movie justice, in my opinion. It kind of sold it as maybe a bigger budgeted Inherent Vice, like where it's a quirky kind of Paul Thomas Anderson movie with a little bit more budget. But this is a really intense thriller. You like you said, Sean Penn gives this really sleazy bad guy performance, one of the better bad guy performances you're going to see, where it's really just embodiment of this character that he has with Lockjaw. And then, of course, there are some other offshoot, stories like the Christmas Adventures Club, which is very, on the nose, but also in a subtle dig at some people, which I think is extremely, well crafted by Paul Thomas Anderson. To me, it's just a great movie, and I really enjoyed Sinners, I really did, but I also thought that it sort of got overwhelmed by all the activity that it had with genre splicing. Here we get some of that with Paul Thomas Anderson, but I think he's able to hone it in a little bit better to where it doesn't feel like it's just going off the rails so much like Sinners did, even though I really enjoyed Sinners quite a bit.
Right, right. Well, you mentioned, all that building tension and how it manages to maintain that momentum for a lot longer than you'd think it would. This movie probably has more in common with Uncut Gems than the Benny
Yeah.
Safdie movie that I covered.
Yeah. Yeah, it just works, and like you said, it's a really, and as you would expect from an Anderson movie, it's a very actory movie where people are getting to chew the scenery. Um, I I really wish that Tiana Taylor was in the movie more because she was such a dynamo in that first 20-25 minutes, and then we lose her in the movie, based on how
Yeah.
the plot has to move forward. But she was so great. Chase Infinity was great. Benicio del Toro is very memorable in his short time. Of course, DiCaprio and Chase Infinity, sort of a newcomer to the film world, is, I think,
Uh,
best performance since Wolf of Wall Street.
oh, you said Leonardo DiCaprio is his best performance since Wolf of Wall Street?
I think so. I really I know he won the Oscar for The Revenant, and I know it might be one of my favorite DiCaprio performances because he's this, he's not so sure of himself like he is in some of his other movies where he's got the charm and cockiness. Here he's unsure of himself in a way. He's trying to do the best he can. He's kind of bumbling. He's, as he said in the movie, he's killed his brain cells over the years with drug use and alcohol use. And it just was a different kind of performance, I think, from DiCaprio, where he's not in control and he doesn't feel like he's in control of everything. And he's trying to get by scene. And you can see the angst in him. You can see that he's struggling. And I just feel like he won for The Revenant. I think it was one of those movies where they said, "Well, we got to give DiCaprio an Oscar for for something, so here it is." I
I
really,
disagree. I think he was terrific in The Revenant. I think that
I think he was too.
even if he wasn't due, it was an Oscar worthy performance anyway.
It was good. It was a good performance, but I also felt like Wolf of Wall Street. He had to do so much in that, and I know it was both. You know, maybe the material lend itself to a good performance because he was this eccentric, millionaire that could, do no wrong in his mind, even though he was doing wrong at every turn. But it was such a departure at that time too, because he was really playing this sleazeball that you don't really like, but he had enough charm for you to like him a little bit. And here he does the same thing where, he's a revolutionary. He's, doing things that maybe are illegal, but you also understand why he and his, French 75 people are doing what they're doing in terms of the revolution. And it's just a fun performance. The phone sequence alone is probably, an Oscar-worthy win for him. I don't know that he'll win, but because I know there's a lot of politics still involved in the Academy, and they might say, well, you've already won your Oscar, you don't need to win. But I do hope that the Academy decides that just because Sean Penn has a couple of Oscar wins, that he can't win for this, because he really, for me, elevates himself into that territory of some of the all-time great villains, because he is so terrible as a person, but yet you're kind of drawn to his charisma. You're kind of drawn to his charm a little bit in a way, even though he is a sleazy person that does terrible things to human beings, and he is he does reprehensible things throughout the movie. But I don't know, he just kind of drew me in. Not that I sympathize with him or rooted for him, but you kind of understand where he's going with his motivations. And I just think as a villain, Sean Penn just nails every sequence. He's got this gait in his walk that he walks a certain way. He looks a certain way. He's like I think someone even described him as like almost like a toy, where he's just very mechanical in his movements. And I just feel like he embodies this character in a way that, really made you feel like you were in that world with him.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. He would fit well into that streak of 3 years in the late 2000s with Javier Bardem, Heath Ledger, and Christoph Waltz, where three really great villainous performances in a row won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He'd fit right in there.
Yeah, he is. Like I said, he is among those great villains, and I completely agree that he would fit right in with those guys. And you never know what's going to happen at the Oscars, but obviously he's won before, so it's not like they have to give him one of those like veteran actor Oscar type wins. But I feel like at the end of the day, he's going to get nominated, and he's going to be a heavy favorite, and he's going to have a great chance of winning what would be his third. So I definitely would support that, because his performance was just transcendent. But again, it's a well acted movie, because you expect it to be, because Paul Thomas Anderson is a great writer. He gives the material, levity but seriousness. It's a really timely movie from Anderson, much like Sinners was. But here we have another movie where you sort of put that mirror up against society and what we're seeing, and it's probably going to be one of those types of movies that really stands the test of time, because the way that this movie is made it's going to be made for many different eras. This is a PTA movie that actually is set in a current society, unlike some of his other movies. But here we get something where it's really timely, and I think it's going to stand that test of time, because it's going to be so relevant even 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, because of this subject matter of race relations in America and, some of the injustices that we've seen. So I think it's a great movie. I think it's a shoo-in for many, 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 many Oscar nominations, and I would expect quite a few wins for PTA. What's your final grade on One Battle After Another?
B.
B. Okay.
B. Yeah, I go as high as a B. Paul Thomas Anderson, not in addition to directing and writing, and obviously being a producer, he's got the whole auteur thing going on. He's also the cinematographer for the movie, and it's great cinematography. And so I could see like last year, there was a big deal about Sean Baker
Sure. Yeah.
winning 4 Oscars in the same ceremony for the same movie. I
Right.
could see Anderson doing that here.
Oh yeah, he's going to win a lot. I think it's a shoe-in for best screenplay, adapted screenplay. It is adapted. Although much like Anderson with There Will Be Blood, he takes a lot of liberties with the source material and makes it his own. Which, I love that idea where you can take that source material, and he talks to these writers before he does this, so they understand what his vision is. But this is again, I think it's one of his most populous movies where people, I know it's box office wise it's done okay, but I feel like of all the box office movies of all the movies he's made, this is the most readily available to the audiences, where I don't think you have to slog through like 3 hours of drama or interconnecting stories. It's a really like fast paced 2 hours and 42-minute movie. It does not feel slow, and it really, like you said, it's a chase sequence. The end sequence on the roadways out there, I believe in the Arizona border or whatever it was, are just magical. It's well crafted, it's intense, and it has a really unique payoff that you don't, usually you see like shootouts and people driving into cars and crashing into them. In this case, it's a
A
stopped
little
car
of that.
that, it really puts it a good little spin on that movie. And of course, when you think it's over, we get a little extra scenes there with Sean Penn. So it was just a wild, fun time. And I'm a big Paul Thomas Anderson fan, and this is definitely among his great masterworks, I think, because he is just proving once again that he is among the great working directors today.
Yes. Yes.
All
So
right. Well,
we're going to be hearing more about this movie in the
yes,
coming months. We're probably going to be rooting a lot for this movie in the coming months.
I certainly will be. I do understand the love for Sinners, and I hope that Sinners continues its run toward many Oscar nominations, because I think it deserves several nominations as well. I still think this is the better movie because I think it's a little bit more cohesive. But Sinners was such a swing for the fences that I just applaud Ryan Coogler for his work there, and Michael B. Jordan too. Like, I really hope that Michael B. Jordan squeezes in an Oscar nomination, because he gives like two really wildly great performances, making like at first you think, oh, they're going to be twins. This is going to be some sort of a dumb plot device slash whatever. And it's not. It's a great performance, and he does two different characters, and he makes it feel, he makes you feel those two different characters. They have different personality types. They talk different, they dress different, they appear different. It's not just some, plot device that they wanted to throw in there to make it look cool. It actually works well. Yeah, I think Warner Brothers has a little good problem on their hand. They have two great movies that I think will be vying for several Oscar nominations, and they'll be definitely fighting each other out for some of those awards come next March. So it's been a good year for Warner Brothers, both at the box office and now with two great movies that I think can definitely score and win a lot of Oscars. We'll see what happens. But as we leave you, Bob, what do you have coming up in the next few weeks?
Well, for the next few weeks, I'm going to be on vacation.
Right.
But when we can meet again in November, we'll have Predator Badlands.
Okay.
Which that looks supposedly that's pretty juicy.
Okay. Well, very interesting. Well, as always, we appreciate you stopping by, Bob. We hope you have a great vacation. We hope you get a chance to see some great movies in these next couple of weeks, and we will get back at it very soon.
Very good. Thank you very much. This is the highlight of my week.